Listen. Can you hear it? It is not just the wind sweeping across the endless plains. It is the ancient, rhythmic breathing of the earth itself. Before the sun even breaks the horizon, painting the sky in hues of burnt orange and violet, the wilderness is already awake. This is Serengeti National Park, a place where time seems to stand still, yet life rushes forward with an unstoppable force. For many, this is the ultimate dream of an African safari. But for the millions of creatures standing on this dew-covered grass, it is simply home. It is a battlefield, a nursery, and a graveyard all at once. From the smallest beetle rolling dung in the dust to the mighty lion whose roar shakes the very ground beneath your feet, every heartbeat here is connected. But why do they march? What invisible hand drives over 1 million souls to brave crocodile-infested waters and endless miles of exhaustion? As dawn reveals the vast golden savanna, we invite you to step into a story older than history. A story not just of survival, but of the eternal, unbreakable circle of life. Welcome to the heartbeat of Africa. The story of the Serengeti begins not with the thundering hooves of adults, but with the trembling legs of the newborn. It is January on the short grass plains of the southern Serengeti. Just weeks ago, this land was a parched canvas of dust and dry stalks. But the rains have returned, performing their annual miracle. Water has soaked into the ancient volcanic soil rich in phosphorus and calcium, minerals deposited by volcanoes millions of years ago. Almost overnight, the landscape has transformed into a carpet of emerald green. It is this nutrient-rich grass that acts as a beacon, drawing the herds back to where it all began. If you were here on an African safari, standing atop one of the granite kopjes that dot the landscape, you would see a sight that defies logic. The horizon is no longer a straight line. It is a moving, breathing mass of gray and black. The wildebeest have arrived. This is the calving season. It is a time of peace, but it is a peace with a frantic, underlying purpose. In a biological feat that scientists still marvel at, the female wildebeest coordinate their labor. For a brief window of just 2 to 3 weeks, the plains explode with new life. Imagine this, nearly 8,000 calves are born every single day. Let's focus on one mother near the edge of the herd. She is exhausted, her sides heaving. She has carried this life for 8.5 months, marching through dangers we can barely imagine, just to bring her calf to this specific patch of sweet grass. She knows, with an instinct carved into her DNA, that her milk must be rich and plentiful if her baby is to survive what lies ahead. In a matter of minutes, a wet, confused bundle of fur drops to the ground. The world is bright, loud, and overwhelming. The air is filled with the bleating of thousands of other calves and the deep, grunting reassurance of their mothers. It is a cacophony, but to the mother, it is a symphony of survival. She turns immediately, licking the calf clean, her rough tongue stimulating its circulation, urging it to wake up to the world. But in Serengeti National Park, there is no time for a slow childhood. Human babies take a year to walk. A wildebeest calf has less than 10 minutes. You can see the struggle, the spindly legs splaying out, the teetering attempts to rise, the comical falls into the soft grass. It pulls at your heartstrings. You want to rush in and help, but nature is the best teacher. The mother nudges it, gentle but firm. She knows what is hiding in the tall grass at the perimeter. She knows that predators are watching, calculating, waiting for the week. Within 15 minutes, the calf stands. He is shaky, yes, but he is upright. He takes his first drink of milk, fueling his small body with the energy he will desperately need. By this afternoon, he will be able to run fast enough to keep up with the herd. It is a miraculous transition from helplessness to agility, driven by the purest form of the survival instinct. This explosion of life is the engine that powers the entire ecosystem. The sheer number of calves is a strategy in itself, a technique known as predator swamping. There are simply too many babies for the lions, hyenas, and cheetahs to eat. By flooding the plains with life all at once, the herd ensures that the next generation survives to continue the legacy. As the sun begins to climb higher, baking the moisture from the ground, the calf stays glued to his mother's flank. He does not know it yet, but he has been born into a nomadic royalty. He is the heir to the Wildebeest Migration, the greatest travel story on Earth. But for now, under the watchful eye of his mother and the vast African sky, he simply grazes. The journey of 1,000 miles has begun with his first stumbling step. While the herds celebrate the arrival of new life on the open plains, a different kind of family drama is unfolding among the granite fortresses that rise from the grass. These are the copious, ancient rock formations that serve as both lookout towers and castles for the true monarchs of Serengeti National Park, the lions. Here, in the Ndutu region, the marsh pride is stirring. The morning sun catches the amber eyes of the dominant male. He is a magnificent beast, his dark, heavy mane framing a face that bears the scars of 100 battles. He lies atop the highest rock, surveying his kingdom with a gaze that is both bored and intensely alert. To the casual observer, he might seem lazy, sleeping for 20 hours a day. But do not be mistaken. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. His rest is a necessity, a recharging of batteries for the night's patrol. His job is not to hunt, but to protect. He is the barrier between his family and the wandering nomadic males who would kill his cubs to start their own bloodline. Below him, in the shade of an acacia tree, lies the heart of the pride, the lionesses. If the male is the shield, the females are the sword. They are leaner, faster, and bound by a sisterhood that is unbreakable. They are mothers, sisters, aunts, and grandmothers living together. One lioness grooms another, her rough tongue rasping over a tawny shoulder, reinforcing the social bonds that keep the pride strong. They know that the wildebeest calving season is their time of plenty. For months they have scraped by, but now the buffet has come to them. But look closer. Nestled between the massive paws of the adults, lion cubs. They are balls of spotted fur and limitless energy, tumbling over each other, swatting at their mother's twitching tail. It is a scene of domestic tenderness that seems at odds with their lethal reputation. A cub bites his brother's ear, and a mock battle ensues. It is adorable, yes, but it is also serious training. Every pounce, every wrestle, every stalk is a rehearsal for the survival instinct they will need when they grow up. A mother lioness watches them with a softness that transforms her fierce face. She tolerates their sharp needle teeth chewing on her ear with the patience of a saint. But she is also vigilant. She knows that even here, kings are vulnerable. Hyenas are always lurking, and a solitary buffalo could trample her young in an instant. As the afternoon heat begins to fade, the mood in the pride shifts. The playfulness evaporates. The lionesses sit up, ears swiveling forward. They have spotted something in the distance, a straggling line of wildebeest moving through the tall grass. The communication between them is silent, almost telepathic. A flick of an ear, a lowering of a head, and the hunting party disperses. They fan out, disappearing into the golden camouflage of the savanna. They do not run. They flow like liquid gold through the grass. Back on the rock, the male watches them go. He will stay behind to guard the cubs. This complex social structure, this reliance on each other, is what makes lions unique among the big cats. They are not solitary ghosts like the leopard. They are a dynasty. Tonight, there will be a hunt. Tonight, the survival instinct of the predator will collide violently with the survival instinct of the prey. It is a harsh reality, but in the Serengeti, death is never wasted. It feeds the pride. It feeds the cubs, and it ensures that the strongest genes are passed on to the next generation. As the sun sets, casting long shadows over the rocks, the roar of the male begins. It starts as a low rumble in his chest, deepening into a thunderous sound that can be heard 5 miles away. It is a message to the world. I am here. This is my land. This is my family. And in the darkness, the Serengeti listens with respect. If the lion is the king of the Serengeti, then the elephant is its prescient, wise, and deeply spiritual. As the sun burns off the morning mist, they emerge from the acacia woodlands like gray ghosts, the African bush elephant. They are the largest land animals on earth, yet they move with a silence that is almost unnerving. A 6-ton giant can pass within yards of your vehicle on an African safari without making a sound, their padded feet cushioning every step, respecting the quiet of the wild. Leading the herd is not a male with massive tusks, but a female. She is the matriarch. Look at her. Her skin is a map of time, etched with deep wrinkles that hold the dust of 1,000 journeys. She is the oldest, the wisest, and the absolute ruler of this family. In her mind, she carries a library of survival. She remembers the location of a waterhole she hasn't visited in 20 years. She remembers the safe paths through the dense brush. She remembers the droughts that killed her ancestors, and she knows how to save her family from the next one. Behind her, the family follows in a single file, daughters, sisters, and their babies. There is a calf, barely knee-high to the adults, trotting to keep up. He is playful, swinging his trunk, a tool he hasn't quite mastered yet, like a rubber hose. He trips over a root, and instantly 3 trunks reach out. They don't just help him up, they caress him, reassuring him. The bond here is palpable. In the world of elephants, no child is raised alone. They are the ultimate definition of community. Suddenly, the matriarch stops. The herd freezes. She has found something in the tall grass. Bleached white by the equatorial sun, they are the bones of another elephant, fallen years ago. What happens next is one of the most profound mysteries of nature. The herd gathers around. They become quiet. They do not trample the bones. They touch them. With extreme tenderness, the matriarch runs the sensitive tip of her trunk over the curve of a jawbone, the hollow of a tusk socket. Is she investigating, or is she remembering? Scientists believe elephants are one of the few species capable of empathy and grieving. In this moment, watching them stroke the remains of their kin, it is impossible not to feel a connection. It is a somber, silent acknowledgement of the circle of life. They understand, perhaps better than we do, that they are part of a lineage that stretches back to the dawn of time. After a few minutes, the matriarch rumbles, a low-frequency sound that vibrates in your chest more than it registers in your ears. It is the signal to move on. The moment of mourning is over. The business of living must continue. They resume their march, pushing over small trees as they go. To some, this looks like destruction, but this, too, is part of the plan. By knocking down trees, elephants open up the woodlands, allowing sunlight to reach the ground, so that grass can grow for the zebras and gazelles. They are the architects of the landscape, shaping the Serengeti National Park to benefit every other creature. As they fade into the heat shimmer of the afternoon, leaving only footprints the size of dinner plates, you are left with a sense of awe. In their slow, deliberate movements, they remind us that in a world obsessed with speed, there is immense power in patience, memory, and the enduring love of family. While the drama of predator and prey plays out on the open plains, a surreal masterpiece is being painted on the shores of Lake Ndutu. This is a soda lake, an alkaline body of water that can be harsh to human skin, but is a paradise for one of nature's most flamboyant creatures. From a distance, as you approach in your African safari vehicle, the shoreline appears to be vibrating. It isn't until you get closer that the illusion resolves into millions of individual feathers. The flamingos. They are the ballerinas of the Serengeti National Park. Thousands of lesser flamingos gather here, turning the shallow, caustic waters into a shifting sea of pink. Their color is not something they are born with. It is a gift from the water itself. They feed on the microscopic blue-green algae that thrive in this harsh, soda environment. As they filter the water through their upside-down beaks, the pigments in the algae gradually dye their feathers into the iconic coral pink hue we know and love. It is a beautiful reminder that in nature, you truly are what you eat. Watch them move. There is a collective elegance to the flock. When they feel threatened, or simply when the mood takes them, they perform a synchronized march, heads held high, stepping in unison like a regiment of soldiers dressed in silk. When they take flight, it is a spectacle of noise and color, a crimson cloud rising against the deep blue African sky, their long legs trailing behind them like streamers. But the avian wonders of the Serengeti are not limited to the water. Striding across the dry grasslands nearby is a bird that has traded the power of flight for the power of speed, the ostrich. Standing over 7 feet tall, the male ostrich is a giant. With his bold black and white plumage, he looks like he is wearing a tuxedo. He may look comical with his long, bare neck and wide, curious eyes, but do not underestimate him. He possesses a survival instinct that is entirely grounded. One kick from those massive dinosaur-like legs can kill a lion. He is a flightless fortress, a guardian of his own nest. In the shimmering heat, seeing a male ostrich perform his mating dance, falling to his knees and swaying his wings like giant fans, is a theater performance that rivals anything on Broadway. And then there is the romance. Among the tall grasses near the marshlands, you might catch a glimpse of the gray-crowned crane. They are royalty, quite literally crowned with a halo of stiff golden feathers. They are monogamous, often mating for life, a concept that resonates deeply with us. Their courtship is one of the most poetic sights in the wild. The pair will face each other, bow gracefully, and then leap into the air, wings spread wide, descending like feathers. It is a private ballet performed not for an audience, but for each other. In a land often defined by violence and the struggle for food, the crane's dance is a pure expression of joy and connection. These birds, the pink masses of flamingos, the sprinting ostriches, and the dancing cranes, add a layer of vibrancy to the Serengeti National Park. They remind us that this ecosystem is not just about the heavyweights. It is a complex tapestry woven from threads of all sizes. As the sun begins to dip, casting a golden glow over Lake Ndutu, the noise of the flamingos settles into a soft murmuring. The stage lights are dimming, but the show is far from over. For on the horizon, the seasons are turning. The lush green that has supported this paradise is beginning to fade. The great drying has begun, and with it, the easy days at the lake are numbered. Change in the Serengeti National Park does not happen in a whisper. It arrives with the heat. By April and May, the heavy rains that turned the southern plains into a nursery have ceased. The clouds that once delivered salvation now drift by, white and fluffy, offering no relief. The sun asserts its dominance. Day by day, the lush emerald carpet begins to turn. First to a pale lime, then to a straw yellow, and finally to the color of gold and dust. The great drying has begun. The water holes that sustained the herds are shrinking, turning into muddy puddles trapped in cracked earth. The air grows heavy with the scent of dry grass and rising dust. For the animals, this is the signal. The alarm clock of nature has rung. It is the zebras who react first. Look at them. Standing in stark contrast to the fading grass, their black and white stripes create a dazzling optical illusion. Scientists have long debated the purpose of these stripuses. Is it to confuse the tsetse flies? Is it for temperature regulation? Or is it a way to confuse predators, making it impossible to single out one individual in a stampeding blur? Whatever the reason, they are the bold scouts of this ecosystem. Zebras possess a memory and a survival instinct that drives them forward. While the wildebeest are still lingering, perhaps hoping for one last shower, the zebras begin to march. They head north and west towards the western corridor, knowing that the Grumeti River still holds water. But their role is more than just leadership. It is a vital service. Zebras are the lawnmowers of the Serengeti. Their digestive systems are incredibly tough, allowing them to eat the tall, coarse, dry tops of the grass that other animals cannot stomach. As they graze and move, they strip away the tough outer layer, exposing the shorter, more nutritious shoots underneath. This is where the magic of the Great Migration truly reveals itself. It is not a chaotic scramble. It is an organized procession. The zebras go first, preparing the table. The wildebeest follow, eating the nutritious middle layer. And finally, the smaller Thompson's gazelles arrive to nibble the tender roots left behind. It is a masterpiece of cooperation, a symbiotic relationship where each species helps the other survive the harshness of the African safari. The noise is deafening. Zebras do not neigh like horses, they bark. Their high-pitched quah-ha, quah-ha calls echo across the plains, communicating location and warning of danger. As thousands of hooves strike the drying earth, a fine mist of dust begins to rise, hanging in the air like a golden veil. The easy days of the nursery are over. The calves and foals born just months ago must now prove their worth. There is no room for the weak, no pause for the weary. The herd is moving. Behind them, the southern plains are left silent and empty, waiting for the cycle to return next year. But ahead of them? Ahead lies a gauntlet of terrors. The long grass of the central Serengeti is waiting, and hiding within it are eyes that have been watching the horizon, waiting for the feast to arrive. The migration is no longer a choice. It is a necessity, and the march towards the setting sun has officially begun. As the massive herds of wildebeest and zebra thunder towards the horizon, they leave behind the short grass plains, but the stage is not empty. Remaining behind are the smaller, lighter residents, the Thompson's gazelles. Affectionately known as Tommies, these gazelles are the Olympic spreaders of the Serengeti National Park. With their distinctive black side stripe and delicate frame, they look fragile. But do not be deceived. They are built for one thing: explosive speed. They can reach 50 miles per hour, but more importantly, they can turn on a dime, zigzagging in a way that defies physics. They have to, because watching them from a termite mound is the fastest land animal on Earth, the cheetah. She is a single mother, sleek, spotted, and strikingly beautiful. Unlike the lions, who rely on the brute force of the pride, she is alone. She has 3 cubs hidden in a nearby thicket, balls of gray fuzz that chirp like birds. They are hungry. The weight of their survival rests entirely on her slender shoulders. This is the most high-stakes race in nature. She spots a straggling gazelle. Her approach is slow, agonizingly patient. She freezes mid-step whenever the gazelle looks up. She must get within 50 yards. Any further, and she will burn out before she catches him. Her heart begins to hammer, not from fear, but preparing her body for the violence of acceleration. Suddenly, the gazelle spots her. The trigger is pulled. In an explosion of dust, she launches. 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds, faster than a Ferrari. Her spine flexes like a coiled spring, allowing her legs to stretch impossibly far. Her claws, unlike other cats, do not retract. They act like cleats on track shoes, gripping the hard earth for traction. The gazelle jinks left. The cheetah adjusts instantly, using her long, heavy tail as a rudder to counterbalance the turn. It is a blur of tan and gold, a dance of death performed at highway speeds. For a visitor on an African safari, it happens so fast that if you blink, you miss it. With a final burst of survival instinct, she swipes the gazelle's legs. He tumbles. In a cloud of dust, she clamps her jaws on his throat. Silence returns to the plains. But the danger is not over. In fact, it has just begun. The chase has pushed her body to the brink of overheating. She is panting heavily, her chest heaving, unable to eat yet. This is her moment of greatest vulnerability. She is exhausted, and the smell of blood is drifting on the wind. She drags the kill toward a bush, constantly looking over her shoulder. She knows that if a lion or a pack of hyenas arrives, she will have to abandon her hard-won meal. She cannot risk a fight. A broken leg for a cheetah is a death sentence. She calls softly to her cubs. They emerge, rushing to the feast. She watches them eat first, her amber eyes scanning the horizon, alert to every rustle of the grass. In this harsh landscape, she is a fragile miracle, a master of speed, but a slave to the constant threat of stronger rivals. It is a poignant reminder that even the fastest creature on earth cannot outrun the difficulties of parenthood. As the herds push further north, leaving the open plains behind, the landscape of the Serengeti National Park undergoes a dramatic transformation. The horizon closes in. The sky is broken by the twisted silhouettes of acacia and sausage trees. We have entered the Serengeti Valley, a labyrinth of woodlands and riverine thickets. Here, the rules of the game change. On the plains, survival was about speed. In the woodlands, survival is about silence. If you are on an African safari here, you might look at a tree for 10 minutes and see nothing but leaves and shadows. But look closer. Look at that branch that seems slightly thicker than the others. Look at the tail hanging down like a vine. Suddenly, the image resolves and your heart skips a beat. The leopard. She is the phantom of the forest, the most elusive and secretive of all the big cats. Unlike the lion who claims the ground, the leopard claims the sky. Her coat is a masterpiece of evolutionary art, the pattern of black rosettes on gold that mimics the dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves. When she lies still, she doesn't just hide, she disappears. She wears an invisibility cloak woven by nature itself. While the cheetah hunts with the burst of a sprinter, the leopard hunts with the patience of a sniper. She watches from her high perch as a herd of impala grazes below. They are nervous, twitching at every snapping twig, but they do not look up. That is their fatal mistake. She descends head first, her muscles rippling like liquid steel under her skin. She moves through the dry leaves without making a sound, a ghost in the machine of the wild. She uses every bush, every termite mound, every shadow to close the distance. She needs to be close, within 10 feet. The attack, when it comes, is not a chase, it is an ambush. A blur of gold explodes from the bush. Before the impala can even process the threat, the leopard has it. It is violent, intimate, and over in seconds. The survival instinct of the prey didn't even have a chance to ignite. But the kill is only half the battle. The smell of fresh blood in Serengeti is a dinner bell for every fief in the valley. Hyenas are already lifting their noses to the wind. Lions are turning their heads. The leopard knows she cannot win a fight against them. She is a solitary hunter, and an injury means death. So she does something extraordinary. Clamping her jaws firmly on the prey, which often weighs as much as she does, she approaches the base of a massive acacia. Digging her claws into the bark, she begins to climb. The raw power required to hoist a heavy carcass vertically up a tree trunk is staggering. It is a feat of strength that no other cat can match. She wedges the kill high in the fork of the branches, safe from the snapping jaws of the hyenas below. Only then does she rest. Up here, in her leafy penthouse, she is untouchable. She pants softly, licking her paws, her eyes glowing in the fading light. Below her, the frustrated scavengers circle and yap, but she ignores them with regal indifference. In the complex society of the Serengeti National Park, the leopard is the ultimate individualist. She relies on no one. She asks for no help. In the shadows of Serengeti, she proves that you don't need a pride to be powerful. You just need to be smarter, quieter, and stronger than everyone else. As night falls over the woodlands, the leopard merges back into the darkness, leaving us to wonder how many times we have passed beneath her, completely unaware that we were being watched. By June, the grand procession of the Wildebeest Migration has funneled into the western corridor of the Serengeti National Park. The herds are now a single, massive organism, driven by a thirst that eclipses fear. But blocking their path to the north lies a winding, treacherous ribbon of water, the Grumeti River. This is not just a geographical barrier, it is a biological minefield. As the dry season intensifies, the river shrinks into a series of disconnected pools. This concentration of water forces everyone into close quarters. And in the wild, overcrowding breeds conflict. Dominating these pools are the hippos. To the uninitiated eye, they look like comical, bloated sausages floating lazily in the mud. But do not let their sleepy appearance fool you. The hippopotamus is one of the most aggressive and dangerous animals in Africa. They are extremely territorial. A dominant male presides over his stretch of river like a tyrant. He does not tolerate intruders. Imagine the scene. Thousands of thirsty wildebeest and zebras crowd the banks. They are desperate for a drink. They push and shove, inadvertently sliding into the water. This intrusion triggers the wrath of the river kings. A threatened hippo rises from the depths, water cascading off his massive head. He opens his jaws, a terrifying display that can span 150 degrees, revealing tusks that are sharp as razors and long as a forearm. His roar is a deep, guttural laugh that shakes the air. He charges. Not to eat, hippos are vegetarians, but to kill, to protect his space. A wildebeest caught in those jaws is crushed instantly. It is a senseless, violent death, driven not by hunger, but by pure aggression. But while the hippos kill for territory, there are others who kill for sustenance. Lying motionless on the sandy banks or submerged just beneath the surface are the Nile crocodiles. They are living fossils, survivors from the age of dinosaurs. Some of these reptiles in the Grumeti are giants, reaching lengths of 15 feet or more. They have been waiting for this moment for months. For the rest of the year, they survive on fish and smaller prey, their metabolism slowing down to a crawl. But the arrival of the migration is their annual banquet. Their patience is terrifying. They can hold their breath for up to 2 hours, waiting for the perfect moment. A wildebeest steps into the shallows to drink. It is cautious, eyes scanning, ears twitching, but the danger is invisible. The strike happens faster than the human eye can register. The water explodes. Jaws slam shut with thousands of pounds of pressure. The crocodile drags the victim into the deep water. The wildebeest struggles, hooves thrashing, eyes wide with panic. But against a creature designed by millions of years of evolution to be the ultimate aquatic predator, the outcome is almost always certain. The crocodile performs the death roll, spinning its body to tear off chunks of meat. For the herds, the Grumeti is a cruel paradox. They must drink to live, yet the act of drinking brings them face to face with death. This creates a palpable tension in the air. You can see it in the nervous way the zebras approach the water's edge, drinking in quick sips, then bolting back. You can hear it in the frantic bleating of mothers calling to calves who have strayed too close to the mud. Those who survive the Grumeti are not out of the woods yet. They are merely hardened. They have learned that in the Serengeti National Park, the water is as deadly as the drought. The crossing of the Grumeti is a rehearsal, a grim training ground for the ultimate challenge that lies ahead on the Mara River. The survival instinct pushes them on. They leave the riverbanks, leaving behind the fallen to the scavengers, and turn their faces north. The rumble of their hooves fades into the distance, but the river remains, silent once more. holding its dark secrets beneath the murky surface. By late July and August, the Great Migration has reached the northernmost edge of the Serengeti National Park and the border of the Masai Mara. But here, the journey halts abruptly. Blocking their path is the Mara River. Unlike the seasonal streams or the shrinking pools of the Grumeti, the Mara is a monster. It is wide, deep, and swollen with water from the distant highlands. The current is strong, churning with brown silt. The banks are not gentle slopes. They are steep, slippery cliffs of mud that drop vertically into the abyss. It looks less like a river and more like a scar tearing the landscape in two. For days the herds arrive. They pour in from the south like a relentless tide, filling the horizon until the green grass is completely hidden beneath a sea of gray backs and horns. The air becomes thick, almost unbreathable, choked with dust kicked up by millions of hooves. The noise is a deafening, continuous drone and mixture of low grunts, frantic bleats, and the high-pitched barks of zebras. It is the sound of confusion and anxiety. This is the buildup. They know they must cross. The smell of rain and lush grass from the other side is tantalizing, drifting on the wind, pulling at their very souls. But they also see what lies beneath. The Nile crocodiles of the Mara are the largest in Africa. Some are veritable dinosaurs, growing over 16 feet long and weighing nearly a ton. They do not hide. They float brazenly on the surface or bask on the sandbanks in tangled piles, their mouths open, displaying rows of yellowed, interlocking teeth. They have not eaten a substantial meal in months. They know the calendar better than we do. They know that the dinner bell is about to ring. On the high banks, the wildebeest crowd the edge, peering down with wide, terrified eyes. They pace back and forth, looking for a crossing point, a shallow section, a way out. But there is no bridge. The tension is palpable. It is a physical weight that presses down on the riverbank. Behind the front lines, the pressure is building. New arrivals are constantly pushing forward, unaware of the cliff edge ahead. They shove the animals at the front closer and closer to the drop. It is a dangerous crush. The animals at the front are trapped between the devil and the deep blue sea, or, in this case, between the crushing weight of the herd and the jaws of the crocodiles. You can feel the hesitation. It is a collective holding of breath. Who will go first? It requires a level of bravery, or perhaps madness, that is hard to comprehend. The herd needs a leader, but in this anarchy there are no generals. There are only individuals fighting for their own lives. Predators on the land know this too. Lions and hyenas gather in the bushes near the crossing points. They know that in the chaos and panic of the gathering, mistakes will be made. A calf separated from its mother, an adult breaking a leg on the steep descent. The Mara River is not just a barrier, it is a trap, closing in from all sides. Days can pass like this. The noise grows louder. The dust grows thicker. The crocodiles slide silently off the sandbanks and submerge, disappearing into the murky water. The stage is set. The actors are in position. The fuse has been lit. All it takes is one single wildebeest, pushed by hunger or shoved by the crowd, to take that final step into the water. And when that happens, the Mara River crossing will begin, not as a trickle, but as an explosion. It starts with a single splash, and then the world dissolves into chaos. Driven by an unseen signal, the dam breaks. The first wildebeest leaps from the high bank, plunging into the brown water below. In a heartbeat, 10 follow, then 100, then thousands. It is a cascade of living bodies pouring down the cliffs like a landslide of flesh and bone. The dust billowing from the banks mixes with the spray of the river, creating a fog of war. The Mara River crossing has begun. The noise is indescribable. It is a roar that vibrates in your chest, the splashing of water, the bellowing of terrified animals, and the frantic drumming of hooves against the mud. From the air, it looks like a black ink stain spreading across the river. But down at water level, it is a desperate struggle for air and space. The water churns violently. The current is strong, sweeping away the young and the weak. But the true terror rises from the depths. The Nile crocodiles make their move. They do not rush. They glide into the mass of thrashing legs with terrifying precision. A pair of jaws snaps shut with the sound of a steel trap. A wildebeest is pulled under, silencing its cry in an instant. The water around the attack turns a grim shade of crimson. It is brutal, yes. It is hard to watch. But this is the rawest form of nature. The crocodile must eat to survive, just as the wildebeest must migrate to live. For those who escape the jaws, the nightmare is not over. They face the wall. The far bank is a steep, slippery fortress of mud. Wet with the dripping bodies of those who climbed before, it becomes an unclimbable slide. Panic sets in. Animals claw at the earth, sliding back down onto the heads of those behind them. They pile up, a crushing mass of exhaustion. Many will not die from teeth, but from drowning or being trampled in the bottleneck. This is where the survival instinct is tested to its absolute limit. Amidst the hysteria, there are moments of heartbreaking heroism. A mother reaches the top, safe at last. But she does not run. She turns back. She scans the chaotic river below, calling for her calf. Her distress call cuts through the din. Below, a small, wet head bobs in the current, struggling against the flow. He fights his way to the bank, scrambling over the backs of giants, driven by the voice of his mother. When he finally crests the ridge, the reunion is brief. A quick nuzzle before they vanish into the safety of the bush. This is the Great Migration in its most visceral form. It is a numbers game played on a grand scale. The river takes its tax. Hundreds of bodies will be left behind, floating downstream or piling up on the rocks. But look at the other side. For every one that is lost, 1,000 make it across. They emerge from the river wet, shivering, and exhausted, but alive. They shake the water from their coats and immediately begin to graze. It is a jarring transition from mortal terror to peaceful grazing in a matter of seconds. The crossing continues for hours, sometimes days. It is a spectacle that leaves you breathless, trembling with adrenaline. It reminds us that life in the Serengeti National Park is not given, it is earned. Every survivor standing on the far bank is a testament to resilience, a victor in the ultimate lottery of existence. And as the last of the herd scrambles up the bank, the river begins to quiet down. The water flows on, indifferent to the drama it just witnessed, carrying the story of life and death downstream towards Lake Victoria. The dust has settled. The thunder of hooves has faded north towards the horizon. But the Mara River is not empty. Bobbing in the current, caught against rocks and snagged on driftwood, are the silent casualties of the crossing. Hundreds of wildebeest bodies float in the murky water. To human eyes, this looks like a tragedy, a waste of life. But in the Serengeti National Park, nothing is ever wasted. Look up. High above, riding the thermal currents in slow, lazy circles, are the watchers, the vultures. They have seen the crossing from miles away, their eyesight so sharp they can spot a carcass from the clouds. Now they descend. It begins as a trickle, one or two birds dropping from the sky with wings spread wide like dark parachutes. Then it becomes a vortex. Hundreds of them spiral down, landing on the riverbanks with heavy, awkward thuds. The scene that follows is chaotic, noisy, and, yes, gruesome. But step back and look at the bigger picture. You are witnessing the most efficient cleanup crew on the planet in action. Within minutes, the carcass is swarmed. There is a strict hierarchy here. The massive lappet-faced vulture, with its powerful beak capable of tearing through tough hide, often eats first, opening the way for the smaller, white-backed vultures to reach the soft meat inside. They hiss and squabble, wings flapping in a frenzy of competition. It is easy to look away in disgust, but consider the alternative. Without these scavengers, these bodies would rot slowly for weeks. They would become breeding grounds for anthrax, tuberculosis, and rabies. Bacteria would leach into the water, poisoning the river that gives life to the entire region. Vultures are the immune system of the savanna. Their stomachs are evolutionary marvels, containing acid so corrosive it can neutralize the deadliest pathogens known to man. They don't just eat death, they sanitize it. They stop the spread of disease before it can begin. In a matter of hours, a wildebeest that weighed hundreds of pounds is reduced to clean white bones. The energy that was once in the muscles of the grazer is now soaring back into the sky on the wings of the scavenger. This is the circle of life in its most literal functioning form. It is raw, unpolished, and uncompromising. It teaches us a humble lesson that in nature, death is not an end, but a transfer of energy. The fallen wildebeest ensures that the river remains clean for the elephants arriving tomorrow, and that the plains remain safe for the lions hunting tonight. As the sun sets, the vultures, heavy and full, roost in the dead trees along the riverbank. They are the grim guardians of the Mara, the unsung heroes who ensure that the cycle continues unbroken. For the survivors who scrambled up the muddy banks of the Mara River, the nightmare is finally over. Before them lies the prize they have walked over 1,000 miles to reach, the rolling emerald hills of the Masai Mara. Although geographically smaller than its southern neighbor, the Serengeti National Park, this northern extension is the vital refuge during the dry season. Here, thanks to local storms and the permanent water sources, the grass remains green and lush when the rest of the continent has turned to dust. For the wildebeest, this is Eden. The tension that gripped the herd for months seems to evaporate. The frantic marching stops. The dust settles. The air is filled not with the sound of panic, but with a rhythmic, satisfying sound that is music to a grazer's ears. The sound of millions of mouths tearing at fresh, sweet grass. Rip, chew, swallow, repeat. It is a frenzy of feeding. They must eat nearly 24 hours a day. They're not just satisfying hunger, they are rebuilding their bodies. The ribs that showed through their skin after the long march begin to disappear. Muscles fill out. Energy reserves are restocked. Look at the calves, or rather the teenagers now. The clumsy babies born on the southern plains back in January are gone. In their place are strong, alert young adults. They have survived the lions of Ndutu, the crocodiles of Grumeti, and the chaos of the Mara. They have graduated from the harshest school on earth. They frolic in the tall grass, locking horns in mock battles, practicing for the day when they will fight for mates of their own. But even in paradise, the African safari drama never truly sleeps. The Masai Mara has one of the highest densities of lions in the world. But for now, the odds are in the wildebeest's favor. The sheer abundance of prey means that while individuals will still fall, the herd as a whole is safe. It is a time of relative plenty for everyone. The lions are fat and lazy, sleeping with full bellies under the balanites trees. The cheetahs teach their growing cubs to hunt in the tall grass. This period of abundance is crucial. It is the deep breath before the plunge. For the females, a new life is already beginning to stir within them. The mating season. The Ruth happened back on the journey, and now they are carrying the next generation. This nutritious grass is fueling not just one life, but two. For a brief, shining moment, the world feels perfect. The sun is warm, the water is cool, and the grass stretches to the horizon. It feels like this could last forever, but the survival instinct knows no complacency. The wildebeest are restless souls. They know in some deep instinctual part of their brains that this paradise is borrowed time. As October approaches, the wind begins to change direction. The sky to the south, towards Tanzania, begins to darken with distant bruises of purple and gray. Thunder rumbles like a drum roll from hundreds of miles away. The rains are returning to the Serengeti. Heads lift from the grass, ears swivel. The signal has been received. The holiday is over. The Great Migration is not a line from A to B, it is a circle. And the circle is calling them home. In the Serengeti National Park, the wind is the messenger. By late October, the winds shift. They no longer blow dry and hot from the east. They come heavy and laden with moisture from the south. Standing on the hills of the Masai Mara, you can see it before you feel it. Dark, bruising clouds stack up on the southern horizon, towering like cathedrals in the sky. Lightning flickers silently in the distance, illuminating the vastness of the plains. The message is clear. The rains have returned to the short grass plains of Tanzania for the wildebeest migration. This is a magnetic pull they cannot resist. It is a biological imperative, stronger than hunger, stronger than fear. Almost in unison, the great herds turn their heads. They leave the now browning grasses of the north and begin the long trek back. The chaotic energy of the river crossing is replaced by a steady, determined rhythm. They fall into single file lines that stretch for miles, looking like veins pulsing across the face of the earth. This return journey is arguably the most critical leg of the African safari calendar. Why? Because the females are walking for two. Deep within the womb of nearly every adult female wildebeest, a new life is growing. Conceived on the journey north, these fetuses are now heavy and demanding. The mothers must reach the phosphorus-rich soils of the southern plains before they give birth. They are racing against their own biology. If they are too slow, or if the rains fail, they will be forced to drop their calves in the tall grass and woodlands, where predators can hide easily. They must reach the open plains where they can see the enemy coming. As they move south, passing back through the territories of the lions and leopards they evaded months ago, The landscape is already changing. The dry, cracked earth they left behind in May is drinking deep. The smell of wet soil petrichor fills the air. It is the scent of resurrection. Dormant seeds, waiting patiently in the dust for months, burst open. Tiny shoots of green push through the soil. The table is being set for their arrival. The predators, too, sense the shift. The lions of the southern plains, who have endured a lean and hungry dry season, lift their heads. They hear the distant thunder of hooves. They know the feast is returning. By December, the vanguard of the herd crosses back into the Serengeti National Park heartland. They have walked over 1,800 miles. They have braved crocodiles, outrun cheetahs, and survived starvation. They are thinner, scarred, and weary, but they are home. As the first drops of the short rains fall on their backs, washing away the dust of the migration, the cycle is complete. But in nature, there is no true ending. The end of the journey is simply the beginning of the next. In just a few weeks, the calving season will begin again. A new generation will be born into this magnificent, brutal, and beautiful world. And the great wheel of the circle of life will turn once more. As the sun sets over the endless plains of the Serengeti National Park, casting long shadows that stretch across the horizon, the land falls silent once more. We have witnessed a story that is older than the pyramids, older than human history itself. We have walked with the giants, run with the cheetahs, and felt the heart-stopping terror of the river crossing. But what does the Serengeti truly teach us? It teaches us that life is resilient. Despite the droughts, the floods, and the predators lurking in the shadows, life finds a way. It teaches us that we are part of something much larger than ourselves, a vast, interconnected web where every creature, from the smallest beetle to the largest elephant, plays a crucial role. For those of us watching from afar, this African safari is more than just a spectacle. It is a mirror. In the struggle of the wildebeest, we see our own determination. In the protective embrace of the lioness, we see our own love for family. In the march of the seasons, we are reminded that time passes for us all, but the legacy we leave behind endures. However, this wilderness is fragile. The rhythm of the rains is changing. The pressures of the modern world are encroaching on these ancient boundaries. The Great Migration is one of the last true wonders of the natural world, a living heritage that belongs to all of us. It is our responsibility to ensure that this circle of life remains unbroken, not just for us, but for our children and our children's children, so that one day they too can stand under this vast African sky and feel the earth tremble beneath the hooves of 1,000,000 souls. Thank you for taking this journey with us. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the beauty and power of the natural world, please share it with someone you love. Leave a comment below about which moment moved you the most. Was it the bravery of the first crossing or the tenderness of the mother cheetah? And to ensure you don't miss our next adventure into the wild, please subscribe and ring the bell. Together, let's keep the voice of the wild alive. Until next time, keep looking to the horizon.